Good evening. Welcome to the Board of Selectmen's meeting on February 24th, 2025. We'll call the meeting to order at 6:06. You get a roll call, please, Beth?
Select Chair, Mr. Coy.
Here?
Select Vice Chair, Mr. Gifford.
Here.
Selectman, Mr. DeRoche.
Excused?
Selectman, Ms. Costa.
Present.
Selectwoman, excuse me. Selectman, Mr. Britton.
You had to think about that, though, didn't you? Here.
And we have Mr. Colby, Town Manager, with us tonight.
All right, if you could all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. And first up, public comment. Hi, Ryan. How are you?
Fantastic. How are you?
I'm upright.
That's always a good thing. Ryan Lebrecht, 174 Main Street. Good evening. I've not had the opportunity to attend recent BOS meetings as I've been preoccupied with school district issues. Regarding the vote to accept the sole quote received for assessor services, I urge this board to reissue the RFP, cast a wider net, allow more time for responses to ensure they receive competitive bids before making a decision. I also urge the board to not waste $100,000 to have a statistical reevaluation done in 2025 when we are required to perform a full reevaluation in 2026. It's a waste of taxpayer dollars. Despite what the school district may claim this evening, missed a page. Pertaining to the school district's visit tonight, if they wish to appeal in support of the default budget, I'd offer the following. The reduced budget voted on at deliberative is not an arbitrary number. The tax impact group, which is made up of past graduates of Timberlane, many of whom either have or had children in the district, are longstanding members of the community, have worked tirelessly over the last year, submitting rights to know, attending capital meetings, BOS meetings, budget meetings, providing feedback, and attending other meetings as well, with an attempt to first understand the budget, study the past year's data, and analyze current expenses and predicted future expenses to determine what they collectively agreed is a realistic budget. Historically, the budget has always exceeded actual expenses that has left a significant surplus in the district. As the district auditor stated last week, the actual cost experience from 2022, 2023, and 2024 are a good representation of total expenses to use moving forward and for 2026. Each of these years' expenses have not come close to exceeding the proposed reduced budget. For this reason, I urge Plastow voters to vote yes on 2, despite what the district may claim this evening. Finally, the only way our voices are heard is through the ballot box. I urge the 88% of you that voted in the recent presidential election to show up in force and cast a vote for yes on 2. And if you believe your taxes are too high, I also ask that you vote Lebrecht for Selectmen on March 11th. Thank you.
Thanks, Ryan. All right. And first item on the agenda is the Timberlane Region Superintendent, Justin Krieger, and Business Administrator Watkins. Come on up. How are you this evening?
We are well, sir. Thank you so much for having us back. So I distributed a packet for everybody on the board at the beginning of the meeting. I hope that you have it there in front of you. It's kind of got our agenda and really 4 things I want to be able to talk through tonight along with Ms. Watkins. The first letter A is just to reconnect. I was here last fall and we talked then about an ongoing relationship and communication, and this is an effort to continue to try to foster that. So again, I appreciate you accepting my invitation. The first thing I'd like to walk through tonight is some current district metrics, give you some numbers and give you a snapshot of the district with those numbers. I think it's advantageous for people to hear those things as we're moving forward to March 11th. Ms. Watkins is going to have a chance to run through the unassigned fund balance trend, and we'll have some reports in this packet to help us communicate those things to you. And the last thing we'll do is we'll walk through and complete the warrant post-deliberative. So we went into deliberative with some language. We came out of it with some different language. And we want to highlight those changes for the residents of Plastow. And I'll close with some future dates. Before we get to some of the verbiage tonight, just want to walk you through what you have in your packet. Some of those sheets we'll refer to tonight. Others are just there for your information because they've come up in community question and answer sessions both Marie and I have had over the last few weeks. The first piece is just the agenda. If you turn everything's front to back there, the first pieces of your packet are the actual warrant that will go to the ballot on March 11th. If you continue to flip through there, you'll see a back-sided page. It has revenue and expenses with 4 highlights on there. We will refer to this sheet this evening, and I'll bring your attention back to there as we look at last year and this year, comparing revenue and expenses at a very specific point in time. The next page there is the expense budget to actual report. It looks at about the last decade here in Timberlane and where the school district has met in terms of its expenses and what budget it had outlined for that year, and gives a good idea of percentages around those pieces. On the back of that sheet is an explanatory note for fiscal year 23 and fiscal year 24. I've engaged a whole lot of people in our community in terms of what those percent increases were. There was a 16% increase of the budget and a 4% increase in the budget, respectively. And voters and residents are asking why and why those things happened. And what Marie and I have done here for this board is to outline specifically item by item the cost increases along those 2 fiscal years. And all of those lines were voted in by the voters of our 4 communities. The next page and some successive pages after that will be the unassigned fund balance trend report. And Marie is going to use these tables and these charts and these graphs here to walk you through those pieces. If you flip a couple pages, you're going to see a black page that has Atkinson, Danville, Plastow, and Sandown. This is the tax rate trend report that we're going to show you tonight. And also, that same tax trend report is broken down by town on the following pages. After the tax trend report, we've got some voting trend reports for you. Really, again, looking back to 2010 here in Timberlane and looking how the vote has broken down in the springtime. Really, it's also by town, but you can also look at it by proposed, by default, what percentages of people were coming out to the polls, and really what the district had at the end result of that vote. I pointed out to you last time, I'm going to point it out again tonight. You know, we're looking back to 2010, and the voters across all 4 towns have been very, very supportive of the school system. So that budget that has been proposed has passed on 13 of 15 occasions, and only defaulting twice in the years 2018 and 2014. So we come to show you a very tremendously supportive community around the schools. That's the kind of contents of your packet. If we're going to be citing anything there, we'll certainly turn your attention that way. But I really wanted just to start with just some quick district metrics for you. The first is the cost per pupil. Many of you know that dollar figure is put out by the New Hampshire Department of Education, and they are working toward those items right now. And right now, Timberlane is ranking the 34th lowest per pupil cost, as recently reported by the New Hampshire Education Department, and that's with 161 districts reporting. So really 2 ways to look at that number very simply. You know, there's 33 school districts that are spending less than Timberlane across the state of New Hampshire with cost per pupil, you know, and there's about 130 plus that are spending more than Timberlane. That's currently where we sit. The second metric I want to point out is student enrollment, and also tie that to staff reductions. So it's a unique thing that since 2019 here in Timberlane, we have lost a net gain of 200 students. The interesting caveat to that number is since 2021, we have a net gain of 30 students. So I want to point out to you, and I think I did it in the fall last time, as we look at the NASDAQ reports that we've gotten, we are, in terms of Timberlane, we're bucking the trend in terms of student enrollment. Much of New Hampshire is seeing a decline in student enrollment across their districts. Timberlane has reached a point that has not only sustained its enrollment and stabilized it, but looking over the course of the next decade, we're actually projected to have about 200 more students come into the district over the course of the next decade. Those numbers NASDAQ has given us have been not arbitrarily, but actually low in terms of what it is. So if that's the projection, based upon what the projections have come in the past, we can expect that to be actually a little higher than they're actually projecting. So again, Timberlane bucking the trend of student enrollment. Looking at staff reductions over that same period since 2018, Timberlane has reduced 35 and a half staff positions, and that is since 2018. That number includes the 17.5 positions eliminated by the school board this year within this current budget cycle. Last is to talk about open and vacant positions. I don't have much more detailed to report out than I've been reporting out at the board meetings. Our hiring has stabilized in the district as well. Currently, we're carrying a total of 20 open and vacant positions. 17 of those right now are posted. 3 of them are not posted, as their monies associated with that positions are most likely going to be called upon for contracted services down the line. Those are positions, those 3 that are not moved into the posted are a school psychologist, special education, and also speech and language pathology. So those clinical areas that we're looking to contract out for. Contracted services, speaking of those, here are some metrics for you. Right now, we are currently contracting with 61 individual employees across the district. So these are I shouldn't say employees. These are folks we're contracting with to do the work. They are not Timberlane School District employees. 61 contracted people. I want to break that number 61 down a little bit so you can understand what they're doing in our schools and kind of what specialties these folks have. Of that 61, 32 of them are paraeducator or support staff. So you can think about that as a special education assistant in our schools. 9 of them are working in the areas of speech and language. 5 of them are working in the the area of school psychology. 7 of them are behavior specialists. 3 of them provides direct service to students for vision. 5 of them are special education teachers, 2 of which we've highlighted in the NECC program, one in our early childhood program at TLC, and the other at Atkinson, serving students on the autism spectrum. And 5 of them are increased specialists. So again, all 61 of those positions are dedicated and primarily working and delivering service directly to students in our schools. They're just not employed by the Timberlane Regional School District. We've talked a lot of occasions, we want to shift that number. Those are people that we want to bring under our own roof, to hire within our own collective bargaining agreements, so they're part of our community and that they can really buy in here. We're not at that point right now about where we are, and we're still legally obligated to provide these services for these students, which causes us to go out and contract for this service that I just outlined for you. Lastly, I'd point out to you for our district metric, Maria has done some work looking at last year and also at this year, and we've picked 2 dates and time. The first date we picked was December 31st, and we looked at revenue and expenses for this year compared to last year at that date. At that point on December 31st, we had brought in about $400,000 less in revenue, and we had spent about $4 million more in expenses. Moving ahead and looking at those actuals for January 31st, we have taken in about $1.9 million less in revenue, and we have spent $7.1 million more at this point this year than at the same point last year. In that $7.1 million, $4.6 million of that are salaries and benefits. That's directly attributed to not only the rise in increases for our staff from one year to the next, but also that we employed about 11 or 12 more professional teachers at this time this year than we did at this time last year, which speaks to the good hiring that the district has done. Those are the district's metrics I wanted to present to you tonight. Before Maria did anything with the unassigned balance trend report, are there questions or things that you folks needed to dig into with those numbers in terms of the metrics of the district?
Quick question. The per diem people that you hire, trying to bring them on under the umbrella, is it cheaper to have them per diem, or is it cheaper to have them under the umbrella?
It is absolutely cheaper to have them under the umbrella. Depending upon the actual skill set you're looking at, it's costing the district 2 to 3 times more per person to contract for that service than it would be to hire that person.
Okay, thank you.
No, I'm good.
You sure?
Yeah, I'm good.
I will, you want me to do the warrant, or you want to do the unassigned fund balance report? Let's do that, we'll do the warrant.
Good evening, I'm Maria Watkins. I'm the Business Administrator for Timberlane Regional School District. Thank you for having us tonight. As Mr. Krieger mentioned, in your package, there is a list of the items that were added to the budget from fiscal year 2023 to fiscal year 2025. I want to start with that because I think it's very important that people understand what were these items that were added to the budget, as most of these items are obligatory expenses that the district has to add to the budget. Basically, is salary increases, benefits for those employees that we have in the district, and then we have, and as you can see in 2023 was the highest increase. And a lot of those items are items that have to be in the budget. So for example, the payment for the lease, for the capital lease that we had to add $2 million to the budget. Yes, the payments are not due yet because we haven't borrowed the entire amount for the lease, but per statute, the entire payment of the lease has to be incorporated into the budget, and it has to be carried forward for 20 years. So those are items that, yes, we have in the budget. We know we don't need the money to make the payments in the first years of the lease, but the money has to be there per law. So those are the tricky, like the uncertain things that people need to understand, that they have to be part of the budget and they cannot be removed from the budget. As you can see in the year 2023, the health insurance that we provide for our employees, the increase that we received from Health Trust was 12.5%, so we had to add $2.3 million to the budget for that. The actual rate that came that year in the spring was actually 4.2. So we had to add that amount. Obviously, we didn't spend that amount, but I just want to make sure that people understand why these increases happen, and it's not arbitrary numbers that we just come up. Everything has a reason behind, and we follow the regulations and the law of the state of New Hampshire. If you go to the next page after that, here we're showing you a trend from the unassigned fund balance. The unassigned fund balance is another topic that often gets misunderstood within the citizens of our towns. It is not just a surplus or a deficit. Is in governmental entities, as you probably know, the unassigned fund balance is just assets minus liabilities. That's what it is. So in the corporate world, will be more your working capital rather than just a surplus or a deficit. It's the working capital, so it's your equity. If you see, the prior year ending balance is your beginning balance each year. So if you see here for the 2025 estimate, we have a starting unassigned fund balance of $16.3 million. Then we're going to add all the revenues that come in for the year. We're going to subtract the expenses that we project to have in the year. Then we have the encumbrances from the prior year and the current year, which is pretty much a wash. So then that is how you have your ending balance. Because we have such a high balance carry forward, that is going to impact the apportionment. And the impact of that is that it reduces the amount of the apportionment, so the initial amount, which is the budget, this number will reduce that amount, and that will be the total actual cash that we receive for the district. So when that number is so high, it takes away from the actual cash that we receive, which could end in us having a cash flow issues in the future. So if you look at the following page, I have the apportionment, the DRA apportionment for the district. This is the apportionment for this current year that we have. So if you see, the first line is the $91.8 million. That was the budget. And then we have $19 million that is reducing that total 91 amount. So that 19 million is the unassigned fund balance, which was 16 million, and other expected revenues that we have that are not adequacy aid or the SWEPT. So it's revenues like for special education, the vocational aid that the state gives us, the tuition that we collect from our different programs, kindergarten, music, all the programs that are tuition programs. So if you see, the third line on that page is 71.9 million, so 72 million, which is the actual cash that we will bring into the district for this specific year. So when we look at the trend of expenses for all of the expenses, including grants and food service, the district runs in a higher rate than 72 million. So last year, the actual expenses for the district were 75 million. So if we're bringing only $72 million in cash, that's the part that I want to point out. It could bring us into cash flow issues. So again, nobody knows the future. We do the best that we can with our projections. But that is something that I want to point out to all the towns because it is concerning. Then the apportion, I don't know if you're familiar with the apportionment sheet, but this is basically how the tax rate is calculated. So in the second section there, you have the adequacy aid and the SWEPT per town, which is the adequacy aid is the aid that the state gives us. The SWEPT is paid by taxpayers through the towns, but that does not come from the state. It comes from the taxpayers. So that is what they call the total state aid, which is 17 million. So basically, the state is only giving us 10 million to support a budget of 91 million. So as we all are aware, the issue comes from the state not supporting the school districts as we were hoping they would. Then the following section shows the ADM, which is the enrollment of students per town. We have a total of 3,200 students in our district. And then we have the equalized valuation for each of the towns. Per our articles of agreement, our taxes are calculated, the operating part of the budget is calculated on the ADM or enrollment, and then the capital portion of our budget is calculated based on equalized valuation. So that's why we have those two metrics there. And then it's calculated that way. So 67 million is the operating budget, and then 5 million is the capital portion of that gets calculated based on the equalized valuation. Another thing that I want to point out is when you look at the following pages where we have the tax rates for all the towns, that first page, which is the black and white, this one, it shows the value, the tax impact on a $300,000 home. So when you look back in 2017, and I obviously gonna refer to Plasto, in 2017, a $300,000 home paid $7,100 in taxes. If you follow the value of that house, it goes from $300,000 in 2017 to $418,000 in 2024, paying from $7,200 to $8,700 in taxes. So people need to be conscious that the valuation of their properties is what is the main driver of their high taxes, right? Because a property that used to be $300,000 now is $418,000. If you look below for the town of Sandown, that same house, $300,000 home in 2017, is now $658,000. So the high increase in property values is really what drives the higher taxes. So I think that chart is helpful to see what happens in each of the towns with the property values. And then the following two pages is more in detail, each of the components of the tax rate for each of the towns, which is the local education, the state education, and then how the enrollment and the evaluation of each of the towns affects that tax rate.
Before we did anything with the complete warrant for the board, is there things that we could help kind of dig in or unpack with the unassigned?
Do you have
fund
another
balance?
packet by any chance?
Yeah,
Yes.
back here on the table. Can I leave? Well,
Or- So when you look at this one, the one that has more detailed tax rates, when you look at the actual tax rates for each of the towns, the tax rate now is lower than it was before COVID for all of the towns. So again, the issue is not the tax rate, the issue is the increase in property values. When you look at Plasto, the 2024 local education tax rate, which is the higher rate, is $12.44. Back in 2018, it was $14.93. So the tax rate was higher, but the valuation was lower.
Beth, aside from getting you a packet, is there anything that we can answer for you here or dig into in more detail?
One thing I think it might be good for folks to understand is, I know how a lot of times when your budget goes January to like January, it doesn't work that way with the school, right? So when would this, for the budget you're voting on now, when does that start? When does it end?
Say that again, I'm not sure that I
A
understand.
lot of companies' businesses, right? You know, they'll run like a fiscal year, right? That'll be how they budget for the cycle, January to January. The school doesn't work that way, correct?
No,
So
July to June.
when would this one start? Like, when would your start date be of this budget, when it goes in?
So the way it works is we basically budget a year and a half in advance, which is another challenge because, you know, it's a long time
Okay,
to produce a budget. So we start in the fall. We start for the year that is going to start on July of 2 years after. So like this fall, we budget for 2026. The 2026 years doesn't start until July of 2026. So you are a year and a half in advance budgeting for expenses that are going to happen in 2 years.
okay, so this,
What's the logic behind that?
The state of New Hampshire logic.
Okay.
I had worked in my field for 25 years. I come from the private sector. This is my only government job. I often say it's pretty much learning another career because nothing makes sense. Everything is backwards, and it's like you have to refocus your brain into everything that is completely the opposite. So it does not make sense personally.
No.
It does not make sense.
I mean, you'd think fiscal year to fiscal year, you know? and-
Especially when your revenues are so dependent on other factors, because it's not how much product I'm going to sell to receive the products, right? That's what, you know, if I sell more, I know I will get more revenue. Here, I'm just fully dependent on the state providing the adequacy aid that they seem
And you don't
consider
know if-
fair.
You don't know if they're going to.
Exactly. So I don't know if in a year and a half, in 2 years, the adequacy aid is going to be still being $4,800 per student, or is the state going to go back and say, oh, now we can only afford $3,200 per student? So it is a very challenging position. It is very challenging to come up with the best estimates that we can.
Yeah.
Again, being so dependent on the state to funnel those sources to us.
Yeah.
Did that answer your question, Bill, in terms of like when this would go?
I think so, yeah, when does it really start, right? Because I know, like, because I'm in the business world.
So if you follow this, I don't know if I'm picking up, but if you follow this budget cycle, that at the district level, we began planning for internally in July, right?
Yep.
We work through that piece, we bring it to the budget committee through the fall. We get a proposed budget that comes out of the budget committee in December or January. That then goes to deliberative.
Yes.
It goes to the voters on the 11th, and whatever the voting body determines that day, we're going to start on July 1.
Okay,
Okay?
gotcha.
So in July of 2024, we started budgeting for the budget that we're gonna start utilizing in July of 2026.
Gotcha. I think.
It's very challenging.
Yeah, because I knew it didn't line up, because, I get different, companies that I deal with. I know their year goes March to March, or
Yeah.
most of January to June to June, or
It
whatever.
definitely doesn't line up, but a lot of things that don't make sense, kind of to Darrell's point, is one of the things that does make sense, that's a change kind of moving forward, is you heard Maria talk about the guaranteed health rate maximum that we had in fiscal '23. That's a rate they used to give us right at the beginning of this planning, and then they would actually give us the rate after the vote in the towns, which caused sometimes this delta to be created. That is no longer, right? The rate that we've got for this budget cycle we're working in is going to be the rate. There is no more guaranteed maximum they're giving us. So that gives us some clarity. It gives us, the taxpayers, a whole lot more predictability about what that cost is actually going to be. If you recall me talking about the unassigned fund balance from last year, $2.5 million of that additional or savings in the expense side was just the delta between the guaranteed rate and what the actual rate came in. We're not going to have that kind of challenge anymore, and neither will any public school district in New Hampshire. So that's a win moving forward. But we've still got this fiscal cycle that works differently than most.
Yeah, like Mr. Krieger said, that's one benefit. That's just the health and dental insurance for our employees. And it had a variance of over $2.5 million in one specific year. I mean, that's crazy. That's something you cannot predict, something that you have to put in the budget by law. But when the actual number is that far off, it's just very challenging.
You also have anything?
I'm all set. I do know that the healthcare rates, there were the two rates, the 12.4 and the 9.6, because the health insurance changed because you were not able to offer specific insurance anymore, and you were waiting, and the district will not know how people are going to choose until after May, when all of that will be presented, because it's contract time, April and May, so they won't know until May who's going to pick what plan. So there was a little bit of conservative guessing, and there was some back and forth when we decreased the budget a little bit. But it, if we don't know what's going to happen a year and a half from now, it's kind of hard to say, okay, let's just cut it this way. So, there's been a little conservative recommending from the administration, and we don't know what's going to happen with the state or the federal government with the Department of Education. And I think we need to be contacting our state reps to ask them to please have a conversation in session about educational funding. And that's where I am. And I have been asking to get a roundtable going with the state reps. Timberlane has 10 state representatives. Plastow has 4 of those 10. So we need to get people around the table and have a conversation about what's happening in the state.
One of the things you said here, even though the tax rate decreased, taxes went up due to the increase in the town valuation.
Well, it's a combination. That's not the only factor. Like I said, it's a combination of a lot of things, right? So obviously the budget increase.
You have a certain amount of money that you need to raise, correct?
Yes.
That doesn't change. So it doesn't matter what your assessment is, you're still raising that amount of money. So the fact that the values went up is one factor, but the reason why the taxes went up is not because the valuation went up.
No. That's exactly what I said. It's not the reason why the taxes go up. It's just, I'm just trying to point out that the valuations have increased so dramatically that the amount of taxes that you end up paying in your house is because the value of your house has increased so much. Like I said, if you look at the actual tax rate is lower than it was before.
Correct. But you have a statement, even though the tax rate decreased, The taxes went up due to the increase in the town valuation.
Yeah, the actual tax amount that you pay for your home is higher, even though the tax rate is lower. And that is because your valuation is higher.
No, it's because you're raising more money, not because your valuation is higher, because you're raising more money.
Right.
If you were to calculate out the tax rate going back to 2017 on the amount of money that you're raising this year, do a comparison of the rate then to the rate now, and you tell me where it's going to be.
You are correct. Like I said, yes, the budget increases. Obviously, when the budget increases, the tax rate increases as well. But the amount of increase of the town on all, and this is a countrywide issue. This is not New Hampshire or Plasto or any of our towns. It's a countrywide problem issue that the real estate value has increased so dramatically in the last 4 years since COVID that it is a national issue. Because even though, yes, the budgets have increased too, because everything has increased in irrational amounts since we faced COVID. So it's like a combination of the perfect storm, right? Prices are increased on everything. Look at you at home. What you bought groceries for 3 years ago doesn't buy half of your groceries.
I understand what he's saying is that if the house is tripled, okay, it doesn't mean that the taxes are going to triple. They're only going to triple if what needs to be raised and appropriated is tripled.
Right, yes. Yeah, you are absolutely correct on that, but the actual amount that you pay for your taxes is calculated based on your home value, right? Your individual tax bill is calculated on your home value. If that home value increased, then...
No, because if all of a sudden some magnanimous person came in and said, we're going to pay all the bills, just because the house went up in value, it wouldn't mean that the taxes would increase.
Right.
It only increases based on how much is spent, not how much the extra value of the house.
Yes. Yeah, I think we're saying the same thing. Yes, so your tax rate increases because of the budget that you are presenting, right?
Right, it's all about the budget.
Right.
Right.
All right, you good?
I'm good. All right. The beginning of your packets has the complete and updated warrant after deliberative. I just want to quickly run through the articles and highlight any changes that occurred at deliberative so everyone has a solid understanding of where all the language currently stands. Article 1 at deliberative, certainly no change to that language. Article 2, with the operating budget, there was a change to the proposed budget. That dollar figure now sits at $81,941,925. It's about a $6.6 million reduction that the deliberative session began with. As we move through here, some other changes within that article is that the school board again voted on the new proposed budget and is unanimous in not recommending it, 0-8. And again, the budget committee did the same thing, looking at the new proposed budget number. They are also unanimous in not recommending that budget. Underneath of those recommendations, you can see the potential decrease in the tax rate that's been projected. If the article passes at its proposed budget, you can see those numbers there. And if the article fails, or if we move to default, you can also see the tax decrease that would result for residents in Plastow projected there as well. Article 3 had a language change. You can see the language changes there that are in bold. Essentially, what it is putting forward in terms of changing what it was originally intended to do, it's reflecting language about mandated by the state of New Hampshire. This is specific to kindergarten. The New Hampshire state only mandates half-day kindergarten. So that is what this is going to be able to do. It's going to bring the Articles of Agreement up into our current practice. But Article 3 does not move forward at this time with full-day tuition-free kindergarten. Article 4 did have a language change. It was seeking to establish a 2.5% tax cap. And again, this was going to be an all-encompassing tax cap. And the language change that came out of deliberative is that it is going to be asking the voters to establish a study committee to explore the feasibility of a 2.5% tax cap. Article 5 and Article 6 also had language changes, not language changes to the specific article itself, but making both of them advisory only, as you can see in the caps in the title of the article. Articles 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and 13 came out of deliberative with no changes from the voting body. So there's no changes on those future articles. And this is what will go to the ballot for voters on March 11th. Anything that we can help answer or clarify in terms of where the warrant currently stands?
No, I think I'm pretty good. I was there that night.
It's a busy night.
It was.
Yeah, no sleep for me.
Yeah. John, you good? I'm good. Liz, you good?
I am, I just want to encourage you to try and get that roundtable going for next year. I think it's really important that our state reps understand what's happening in all 4 towns. And, you know, something needs to get done because it's hard. I mean, this is a hard situation that we're in. I could go on for a long time about educational funding, but I won't.
I'm sure. Daryl?
No,
I think we're good. Thank you.
But if I could just close really quickly with some future dates.
Sure.
The school board has put off some open office hours. That's posted on the social media feeds and was also emailed to the families in the Timberlane Regional School District. Really, members of the school board, members of the budget committee, just holding open office hours with the public over the next 2 weeks, and there's a sign-up sheet for that. I'd encourage people to take advantage of that opportunity. Also, on March 5th, there's going to be our first inaugural dodgeball competition. We're going to bring about 150 fifth graders from around the district over to the middle school. We've got about now 50 staff that have volunteered. It's going to be a way for those fifth grade kids to kind of get into the middle school for the first official time. The admin over there is going to be the referees. There's going to be a kind of a round robin thing. So just a good community event to kind of recognize that threshold moment as kids kind of move from 5 to 6. Then 2 key dates after that. The last school board meeting before the vote is on March 6th. And then there is obviously the professional development day here in the district, but also the public voting day on March 11th.
Very good.
Big news coming
Perfect.
up.
Thank you very much.
Yep, hope to see all you guys
Appreciate
soon.
it.
Thanks for having us back.
All right,
Thank you for your time.
All right. Next up is the assessing services. We talked about this a little bit at our last meeting and wanted to give everybody some time to go through, read it, see if anybody had questions. I know it's something we gotta think about, right? Especially in light of what
Well, we
happened,
don't seem
right?
to be in the same, we seem to be in the same boat as everybody else. I mean, there just isn't a million of these guys out there,
Right,
looking to do assessing.
right. And I know when Corcoran left, there was numerous other communities too, right, that could hit?
Yeah.
That is correct.
And did anybody looking through it, questions, concerns, things you wanted to bring up?
I have a couple of questions
Yep.
because I missed the last meeting and I apologize. The programs needed to calculate all the property values and the reevaluations, that will fall on KRT, correct? Or will we need to purchase that software?
They will work with what we have in-house.
Okay.
We're responsible for the software and the programs. They will work with
Work with
it.
what we have, not
Yes.
require anything else, okay. And then who will be responsible for overseeing whoever is here that day and a half? Will they report to you or someone else in the building while
They-
they're here?
They would report to me.
Okay. And it said the contract would be flexible, so would there be parameters around that flexibility?
I would assume so.
Okay.
We have a assessing clerk that is working now 2 days a week. What
Okay.
I would hope for with the day and a half, if whoever comes into that position, KRT is the only one that gave us a proposal, but whether it be them or depending on what the board decides, if it was anybody else, they have proposed a day and a half, KRT is.
Okay.
They are located right over the border in Haverhill.
Haverhill.
What I would hope is that they could overlap with the person that we have on those 2 days a week. So maybe, I would assume, not knowing the assessing 100%, but they would want to be here for some time with that person as well as maybe, I'm hoping maybe another half a day, 3/4 of a day on another day so that we have coverage in that office, at least 3 days.
All right.
Instead of 2, to help overlap and expand the coverage there.
All right. Yeah, I just wanted to ask the question, that's all.
Oh, good questions. Did you have any concerns or anything, Greg, or it's all seemed pretty standard?
It's pretty standard.
And you've known folks that have worked with this
Yes.
as well?
Yeah. I, have mentored finance directors and the like in other towns that have used them. That's, unfortunately, it's what other towns are facing with, real estate values are increasing. It's a tough business, to be in, so.
Yep, and I know with the statistical reval, we've been pushing that off and pushing that off, hoping we could get one more year out of it.
It is, and there's other factors, from the commercial standpoint, and, we do have cases before BTLA, and we have a case before the Rockingham Superior Court that are there because of the lack of action, honestly.
Where our
So,
reval is, I know. Any other questions, comments? So, what you're looking for, you want to give you the right to enter in and pursue the contract?
If that's the board's desire that they want to award it,
What does everyone feel?
Wait, allowed to enter into the contract? Is that what you're asking?
Right, is that what we,
Yeah.
is that how
I
everyone
think
feels?
we, knowing what we know out there, and I think it's time we get this thing moving.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we have to, especially with, as Greg mentioned, a couple of the cases that are sitting out there.
Right.
So, if anybody wants to make the motion to give,
I'll make a motion to take and have our town manager move forward with the contract
I'll
for the
second.
assessing.
I'll second.
second by Liz, any other,
No,
Nope.
I mean, it's,
I mean,
What it is.
it is what it is. This is
yeah, it's,
where we are and what we have to do with everything that's pending.
right, and that's the thing that's pushing it.
yep.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
So 400. And let's see, next up is the MOU discussion about the Police Association Teamsters. What do we got there?
So within Article 21, Section 6 of the CBA, it has to do and pertains to the individual providing training needs to be a communications training officer, a certified training officer. Because of turnover and the like, even though we have employees that are qualified, they haven't attained the certification to be able to train others. So this is basically is adding language on the second page. You can see it bolded or italicized, or an employee who performs the duties and responsibilities of a certified communications training officer. Because of the extra added workload and the like, It's allowing to be able to pay the trainers to train. Currently, because of turnover and the like, we cannot do that. So it's all falling onto one person. So this is just to approve the language to allow for the training and the paying of the trainer.
So it'd really be putting one person in charge of training or however they have, so it's more uniform training.
Right, this would allow others to be able to train, not only, more than just a certified trainer.
Okay. So it helps the training become more uniformed as, for the department?
Is this kind of like peer coaching and getting everybody up to where they need to be in order to be effective on the streets?
Well, and also to be able to, I'm trying to think of an example of,
Updating.
well, I'm a certified public accountant. I may employ an accountant if I was in public practice. So it would be saying that only the certified public accountant would be responsible for training of the accountants. But if I'm the only one there, and we have lots of new accountants, but I have Mr. Britton here who is very qualified, it would allow him to train the
Other
lower
people.
level.
Yep.
And be paid for it.
Yep.
That's what we're looking here. We have one certified trainer, but we have others that haven't reached that level, but they're capable of training.
Gotcha.
And it's,
Yep.
so it's clarifying the language within the CBA to technically allow that to be done.
Okay.
That's clearer than how it first was explained, now I get it.
Sorry.
What do you need from us?
Just to approve this.
And make a motion that we
Approve the,
Approve the MOU as presented.
as presented, with the
Second.
modified statement.
All right, second by Darrell. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, and I apologize for the convoluted.
It's okay. I was just trying to wrap my head around it, and I think when I mentioned it, it made it even, muddied it up even more.
I understand. I apologize.
All right. Next up is, look at our meeting schedule for April through June. Obviously, we can take a quick look. We were all set through March, right, Beth?
Yes. And we are meeting next Monday, the 3rd.
Yep,
Right, we're meeting the 3rd, we're not gonna meet the 10th.
and then we'll meet the 20.
Huh?
Why don't you make the 10th?
Because I know you're out of town.
Right.
You don't want to be able to be say that you're formally excused? Is that?
I wanna make sure you're here. That's what it's all about. All right, so then, so in March, we meet, what, the 3rd, then what is it, probably
Then we
do,
go to the 24th.
so the 24th, so we'd go from the 24th, so then the next one would be the 7th, right, if we follow that? Right,
I
April
won't
7th?
be here.
Well, you can dial in, right? Yeah, that's fine, I mean, what are you gonna do, I mean, we all have lives, right? So you're looking at the 7th, and then if we follow the 2-week, then we go the 21st. And then after that, we go May 5th. Does that mean we have drinks up here that day? That's Cinco de Mayo,
Cinco de
right?
Mayo, yeah.
I won't be here anyways.
Oh, there you go.
There you go.
Unless you get written in.
Yeah, that's right.
No.
Yeah, exactly. And then, so the 5th, we have the 19th, which makes sense, right? 26th is
Right.
Memorial Day.
Yep.
So then we go to the 2nd, the 16th, and then the 30th. Then it's the holiday. So I guess the 30th is the one we might have to think about as you're looking at the schedule way out. Well, that's the week of the holiday? 4th of July?
For you.
Yeah.
Well, you never know, Dad. You might want to, be in the audience.
Yeah, that's it.
But that might be the only one we may have to possibly look at, right, the 30th?
That's fine.
That's,
You'll figure that
that's
out.
like 4 months away.
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah,
even know what.
better to schedule and cancel than to not
Right,
schedule.
right,
and meet.
exactly.
Yeah.
And as always, we can always make adjustments as we go, which we do.
So is the 16th after Old Home Day or before?
It would be before. Old Home Day is on the 21st. When we mention Old Home Day, volunteers? Yes, Old
And
Home,
there's a meeting on the 12th, right?
yes. And it-
Sorry, I'm jumping.
No, that's fine, that's fine.
You know, I'm catching up on my reading.
I
Now that
guess
have
so.
time.
Yeah, there you go. So we're all set there. Next up, we need to approve the consent agenda. And on that, we have the accounts payable manifest for the week of February 20th and 27th for 2025. The BOS draft minutes of February 10th, 2025. There's one veterans tax credit application. There's one 2024 abatement request. We have a reappointment of Mr. Unger to the Zoning Board of Adjustment. And there is also a warrant there to sign for water consumption fees.
Make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Second by Liz. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Nothing there, and I think we're just on to Selectmen's reports. Darrell,
None.
I got nothing.
Liz,
I got nothing.
And Jonathan, you can't use the fishing game or something.
No, that doesn't qualify? All right. Well, I did make the rec meeting. I did not make Old Home Day. It was in a conflict with something else going on. So Jen, as usual, has things going on this week. Tomorrow, there is an ice skating event. All of this is on the rec website, so you can go right there. And then the next day, the 26th, there's a tubing over at Neshoba Valley. I did make it over to the Vic Gary for their delayed Valentine's Day event, which was reasonably well attended. I got to speak to a lot of different folk in town that I don't typically run into because we play in different areas. So it was a nice time. And just to follow up on Summer Rec, I know she needs some job positions filled for rec, and I know that runs between 6/23 and 8/8, and those are all going to be posted on, or already are up and posted.
They
So
are
if you're
posted.
looking for to fill some summertime, I know that she's anxious to get that filled up, so that comes off her plate and she can go on to other things.
yeah, she's already taken the applications for counselors.
Right.
So now's the
We're all
time
good.
to get it in, and it's a great summer job for a
Should
kid.
apply for that.
We'll give you something to do.
There you go.
I'm not gonna say it.
Actually, I did make the last one.
Yes, you were there.
I was there.
I was gonna say, I thought
Yes,
you
I
were.
was there. And everything is going well and getting structured, but as always, we need more hands. We've got an event coming up here, upstairs here on the 12th.
Right, right. It's unusual, actually have it at Town Hall. Usually it's at the Historical Society.
Right, so that's a little more open to the public, so you have to have an opportunity to come up and you're interested. Doesn't have to mean that you have to make every meeting or you have to be involved with it all day long. Taking on an hour here or an hour there, or taking on a responsibility such as an advertising, or if your skill set is in marketing. Now, there's a lot of retirees here in town that have talents galore and are welcome to come in and share it with us.
It's, even if you only have an hour to volunteer that day, to help maybe run a game or take some raffles or something, just an hour a day, it makes that day go so much smoother. Because, I mean, it's really a group of only like 5 or 6 individuals.
I want to try shooting a T-shirt cannon one time.
There you go. But no, it's definitely worth it, you know, it's a good day.
Grateful Dead t-shirts.
That would be good, wouldn't it?
So that's my summary.
Okay. Let's see, what have I done? I attended a track meeting, so that group is underway, and actually, it's been pretty good. We had somebody come in, talk about composting, how the town might be able to get involved in that, so it's something to look at. It's a way, if you're composting, you can reduce, you know, the scraps in your house, and that reduces the weight of your rubbish, so that your tonnage would go down.
Central composting place.
We're talking about it.
Yeah.
They are talking about it.
Whose neighborhood's that gonna be?
I think it's right at the end of the cul-de-sac, right where you are.
Be a bin right there.
No, I mean, it's all in the beginning stages, but that's something they are looking into. And it's good, they've all been very well attended, which is good to see. Did attend the planning board meeting. Not much there, it was kind of pretty
Quiet now.
quiet at that point, but, waiting for the election, I'm sure. Did attend the recreation meeting. As John mentioned, Old Home Day meeting I attended as well. And I also attended one thing for the Historical Society they had at the library on Benedict Arnold.
Oh, my gosh.
I actually went, and I'll tell you, it was very good. It was a pretty decent crowd in there. If you get a chance, they're well worth going to, if you're looking for something to do. And I believe it's tomorrow night, they have another one at the library. It's on Irish folk music and the history. If I wasn't traveling, I'd go to that one, too. Get back in touch with my Irish roots.
Yeah.
You could drink there.
Oh, I don't know about, well, you got to put it on your hip, I guess, but.
And
But-
tomorrow night, I think there's
Go ahead.
a training for the ballot clerks tomorrow night? Is it tomorrow night?
Wednesday.
Wednesday, sorry.
We're
Jumped the
getting our
gun.
new voting machines, right?
They will not be here for this
They will
one,
not be
so.
here for this.
Well, then that's one thing, in the next meeting, we'll go over the schedule for voting day. I know I'll plan on being there all day.
Should be there all day.
I'll plan
I'll
on
be there all
that.
day.
I know Jonathan will be there all day, but but he won't be able to help us.
Yeah.
We're hoping for no snow.
Yes,
I'll
probably
get
no
there
more as
first-
much as you.
I'll get there first thing and I'll stay all day. I just can't stay up past 8.
In the morning? Mr. Krieger never sees the side of me.
So, yeah, and that'll be that. Events that are coming up, as John mentioned, the recreation. There's ice skating tomorrow at 2:25. The snow tubing is Wednesday, 2:26. Future recreation events, they're gonna have roller skating on March 11th. And they'll also be doing the launch trampoline park. So as John mentioned, go to the website and look, you can see the dates. And
Where are the ice skating?
in Haverhill,
The Havel Rink.
the Haverhill rink up behind the high school.
Yeah.
And let's see, we have candidates night, it's gonna be at the library on Tuesday evening, March 4th at 6 PM. Town reports will be available at Town Hall on Tuesday, March 4th. And the town elections will be held on Tuesday, March 11th at the Fish and Game Club, 18 Mayray Ave. My note says 7 to 7:30, but for some reason I thought it was 7 to 7.
I did too.
It probably is.
I think it's 7 to 7
It
that
is.
night.
That's where we voted it.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, that was voted. Right. At least I caught it. So voting day is 7 to 7. Let's see, did anybody have anything they wanted to bring up? Greg, did you have anything?
Aside from non-public? No, I'm good.
Do we have non-public?
Yes, we do.
We do have a non-public, okay. So,
Sorry to have you leave.
thanks for hanging in. So, we gotta close the meeting, right? So,
Well, we need a motion.
oh yeah, need a motion to go into non-public?
Sign off from.
Yeah. Somebody wanna, I'll make a
I'll make-
motion, go ahead.
Make a motion to go into non-public under
C reputation.
C reputation.
Second.
Second by John.
Mr. Coy?
Yes.
Prevagen.
Wow.
I'm pulling you all, correct? You all are saying yes?
Yes.
Mr. Gifford.
Glad it was you this week.
And Ms. Costa agreed too.
Yes, she did. I heard her when she was
So
running.
we'll close the meeting at 7:10. We won't be coming back after non-public. Everybody have a good week. Enjoy the week. Looks like the weather's finally starting to turn. It's gonna get a little warmer out there.
Yeah, break up that ice while it's warm and get it out of the driveway.
Exactly. Have a good week, everyone. Thank you.
Yeah.